the Staples Center and waiting for the tribute to continue. There are a lot of people who are scheduled to take part in this, and I'm sure it has taken quite some coordinating in a very short period of time to make this happen, because as you know, the date, the time kept being changed.
Yes, even this morning it was pushed back a bit because of the delay in the family arriving, but it seemed to start a little bit, not too far off from when it was supposed to start, and that was 10 a.m. Pacific time. But some question about whether or not Michael Jackson's body was going to be here. It is indeed here, and then the family is here now. A big question is, where will he be buried?
Yeah,
there's talk about Forest Lawn, where Ed McMahon was recently buried. David Carradine, Sammy Davis Jr. is buried there. But the family, Jermaine Jackson even said in a recent interview, he would like to see Michael Jackson buried at the Neverland Ranch. And there was some talk also that the owners of the Neverland Ranch now, because as we know, Michael Jackson did not own it when he died, that they are talking to the county there where Neverland Ranch is located to see if they can work out something at a later time to have his body buried.
Well, and keep in mind also, I think it's the corporation that owns Neverland Ranch now. They purchased Neverland Ranch in 2008. They acquired the $24 million in debt to the ranch, and they've already been offered. The reports are as much as $100 million for the 2,600 acre estate, and turned it down because it is an appreciating asset now, and they said that it's going to only get more valuable as more time passes. And so who knows what they're going to do with this. There had been some talk in the future in the past about building estates there. I understand that Michael Jackson was very much opposed to that. But again, they have the rights and the ownership to do as they will, and we don't know if they will consult with the family in terms of doing something there and making Neverland the new Graceland, or not. We shall see what turns out.
A lot of talk of that. I mean, Elvis Presley's body is buried in a special cemetery in Graceland. I mean, you can't just bury a body anywhere. It has to be in a cemetery, and so certain provisions would have to be put in place in order to bury his body at Neverland, if that is indeed the conclusion that they come to. I know that decision is far off, but you talk about the money posthumously that could come from Michael Jackson and his image, and as we watch and wait here for this service to continue, it's interesting to note that there are several companies that handle the estates of deceased celebrities like Elvis Presley and so forth, and deal with their intellectual property, if you will. And they are keeping their eye on and talking about the money that Michael Jackson, the image can make after his death.
Colony Capital is the owner of the Neverland estate for now. And whether or not they will sell it, as I said, they acquired it for $24.5 million. They've turned down an offer for $100 million already. So we will see what happens there. We're waiting and watching, as you are, for the tribute to continue.
I think the family is being seated now, I'm being told, inside the Staples Center, so it should be getting underway shortly here.
And so it should be noted as well that obviously this is the place where Michael Jackson was doing his rehearsals, which will be another profitable venture. The rehearsal video, there's I think about 100 hours of rehearsal video that will be marketed at some point in the future. Some $85 million, Jackie, in pre-concert ticket sales went out. Now, what happens to that money is another matter here, because there are debts that have to be paid. We understand that AEG, the company that owns the Staples Center and was promoting the tour, had I think it's something like $25 million in production costs that they have to pay out. Michael Jackson, we're told, may have received as much as $10 to $20 million up front for the tour. And then there's a matter of the refunds that has to be given back to the fans. But we're hearing that many of them, perhaps as many as half of them,
want that ticket instead.
Want the ticket instead. Don't want the money back because it's a commemorative thing now.
Let me jump in here and talk about some of the folks that are being seated here at this ceremony. Louis Farrakhan, Spike Lee, the Reverend Al Sharpton, just to name a few that are coming in. So it looks like this event is going to get underway shortly as we see
so many celebrities from all over who are not here to be celebrities today, but to honor and respect and to pay their last tributes to their friend.
Yeah, Louis Farrakhan is an interesting person to have here, because it brings to mind Michael Jackson's religion. As I mentioned earlier, we talked about him being raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and then there were talks that he converted to Islam. Haven't been able to really confirm that. And then recently,
Jermaine is confirmed, though.
Yeah, Jermaine
is, about it.
But not Michael. And then Michael most recently had on a Kabbalah bracelet. So really a lot of question to what his religion was. Not that it's a huge deal, but a lot of people are curious about that.
And it did come into play because, again, this being a ceremony and a tribute, and how much of a religious overtone would it have? But Michael was a worldly figure that embraced so much and so many clearly a diverse person in terms of his associations with people all over the world. Obviously, we know about his affection for children, and just his kindness. When you speak with people, they would always say they never met, and I never had an opportunity to meet him, but people who have known him and closely associated with him, they all begin by saying they never met a kinder person.
Right.
Very shy, very timid, but very, very kind and concerned about other people.
And they say very smart and astute about business. A lot of people say that about him, that he was very on top of his game, and you just have to wonder, for somebody who took his career in the direction that he did, it's amazing for him to be so beloved by the world because of his entertainment.
Well, he came in contact with so much money. I think you'd have to be a smart business person, or you would stand to lose it quite quickly. And just the way that he spent and went through money was just mind-boggling. Not even be mind-boggling to people who have a lot of money, because Michael was clearly on another level. I mean, the estate that he was staying in Bel Air when he passed was $100,000 a month, and just for the rent.
Yeah. Well, the good news that is out of all of this is that there were reports that he was some $450 million in debt at the time of his death. But as we were talking about, posthumously, how money could come from the concert rehearsal video, Tommy Mottola, formerly of Sony, was saying that a lot of times when Michael did albums, maybe there's 12 songs on an album, that there were 3 or 4 or 5 songs that never made the album, and he's saying that music could be put into an album, and he's talking about their countless songs. And Michael was working on 2 additional albums as he was preparing for this concert.
Yeah, he's a 50% stakeholder in Sony Records, so as we know, the holdings there. I have, as part of our packet here, just some of the, I just want to take a moment and go through this. Not just the awards, but some of the milestones, and just go through this as we continue to watch and monitor what's happening inside the Staples Center there. But in 1970, 4 singles: "I Want You Back," "ABC," "The Love You Save," and "I'll Be There." Don't we remember those?
With the Jackson 5.
With the Jackson 5. Yeah. And we're just going to kind of go through this quickly. In 1972, released his first solo album, "Got to Be There," including that hit, and also "Rockin' Robin." 1972 also Ben. We just move to this next page here. The Wiz, he did in 1978. Off the Wall came out in 1979.
And let me say one quick thing about The Wiz. Even though that movie was not a huge success, and it was Michael's first acting in a big role,
Diana Ross,
that's when he met Quincy Jones, and that's when they decided shortly after that to work together on that Off the Wall album, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
That was it. Quincy Jones recently spoke about that, about how Michael, who was with Epic Records at the time, really had to convince the executives there to work with Quincy Jones, who we know had a history in jazz music. And they were saying, why would we let a jazz musician produce this album with Michael Jackson?
Right.
But they did, and there was Off the Wall, and then Thriller.
And then, of course, We Are the World. And then again with Quincy Jones, that was 1985.
And Lionel Richie, they wrote that together.
Yeah, Lionel Richie. It's just a lot here. A lot of people may not know that it was Elizabeth Taylor who was credited with coining the phrase for him, the King of Pop.
Yeah.
Elizabeth
Isn't that
Taylor.
interesting?
Yeah, 1989, it says, according to the research, and then it's obviously it's stuck.
Well, and we have so much research that we've been going through, and it's interesting the things that you discover, like Elizabeth Taylor.